Hello, guys. Welcome to my training section today on creating custom entity. Basically, the entities are the business models in which you're using collecting information into your Dynamics environment. So, from our last training section, we used the out of the box custom entities and created a custom app. So, in today's training, we'll be working through creating our own custom entities. So we'll be working basically on fields, forms, and views, and after which we'll be using this custom entity in the custom app we created. Then in the next videos, we'll be creating business rules on these custom entities, and also connecting the entities using entity relationship. So for this training, we'll be working with the scenario. Let's say you have an XYZ company, and this company is into the deployment of let's say cloud-based solution. We have let's say for instance they deploy the Dynamics customer engagement, the Dynamics finance and operation, and the Azure cloud services for their customers. So and there's no entity used to collect those deployments on the Dynamics environment. So this company wants to create their own custom entities. So for this scenario, we'll be having, let's say, three custom entities. The first one will be the deployment. So the deployment will be picking information like their clients, the company name, the contact person the clients will be working with. Also have things like the solutions the clients are requesting for, and some other fields which we'll be using. So we'll be having also the training catalog that for the clients that the XYZ company is deploying the solutions for. Because after the deployment, they might want to train some of their personnel on how to use it. So straight away, we'll be going to our Dynamics environment. So this is the Dynamics environment in which we'll be creating our custom entity on. And this is the solution that we'll be using the entities on. So we have our areas as before. So basically, let me run down through what forms, then views and fields look like. So for instance, this what we can see now is a view. So you could have different kind of views. For this view, what view does is basically pulls out based on the entity you added for that view. It pulls out the records that were entered for those fields, and you have them displayed under the selected view. So for this view, the fields that were used, you can have the name. You have the name field, you have the topic, status reason, and the dates it was created. So for the form, what you have for the form is the entry format in which you design for the information to be populated into the system for that entity you've created. Because the entity from the back end is basically just a table, and the schema in which you use in creating that table, information are then populated on that table in that format. So what the form looks like, something like this. So basically, you have for this now we have there's what called the main form. So we're on the main form for delete right away. You could have more than one main form, and when you have more than one main form, you don't have a drop down of the main forms you have listed below here. So for this main form, we have the summary tab. So each of what you see, the components you see under here are what we call the fields. So you create the field, and depending on what you want to populate in that field, you then choose the data type that will be going in for that field. So basically, that is how a form looks like, and have another tab fill in details also. So what we'll be doing now, we'll be creating three custom entities. The first one will be called deployment, and we'll be creating some custom fields I've already drafted from my end. So a good policy is for you to draft out the fields you want information to be populated on before going ahead to design your custom entity. So to make custom entities right now, just go to the setting icon here, click on advanced setting, and you then go down to customizations, customize the system. Then you click on the entities because we want to create an entities. We want to create an entity. Then you have a list of all the out of the box entities that came with this system. So we want to create ours. So you just click on the new icon here. And for this entity, as I said earlier on, we'll be calling this deployment. For the plural name, we'll call this deployments. Then for the name, this name is what will be kept used in the schema. And that's on from the table's back end. So we'll leave this as the default. Then for the define as an activity. So if you want this entity to appear as an activity, just like you have entities like phone calls, um, emails, and other entities that you could enter from the activity timeline. So you could check here, but we don't want this. So we'll leave everything as default. We'll come and give it the description. Let's say solution deployment. We'll leave everything as default. Then for the primary field, this will be popular. This will be the basic field that we'll be having in our form, but you could choose if you want to use them or not. So, but however, if you don't want to use them, you ensure that you come here and click on make it optional, so you could do away with it when you are creating your forms. So I'll do this and click on save. So it's going to create the entity we just with this name we've entered. Then we will proceed with customizing the form, views, and adding fields. So our entity has now been created. So first of all, we'll create the fields that will be used in our forms. So I'll click on fields. So you have some predefined fields already created since I'm making this from the customized system. But if you use the solution tab, you have everything all clean from the scratch, which you could do. But we want to use some of these predefined fields that are created. So we'll go ahead to create our own fields. So some of the fields I have listed here that I would like to have things like let's have the company name. Actually, this is going to be a lookup field which will be looking up from the account record. So when a user is entering details for the company that wants to make request this deployment, you just search out from the account entity the records we have already for that company. So call this let's call this client. So one leave all of that settings. So for the field requirements, if you check this optional, so when the entry is being made, it won't request that this must be entered before it's um, the form is saved. But when you use business required, the field must be entered. This specific field must be entered on that form before the form is saved. So we will leave everything as default. So such in interactive experience dashboard. So when you're using the interactive dashboard in which you could make changes on your grid, we'll see that also later. You could come check this, but we'll leave that as default. So the data type we want to use is lookup because we want to look up the account entity. So go look up accounts. So select accounts and click on save and close. So it's going to create the field for us. So when this field is done creating, so to quickly just get the field you just created, you could go to custom and you have it here. So this is the schema name I was talking of that it uses to store the data that will be coming in under this um, field for this table, which is the entity we just created. So let's have some other more and fields under this entity. So let's call this client rep. So let's say this is a contact person who will be dealing with why this project is going on. contact person for the project. So this also wants it to be a lookup field. Then we look up the contact entity. So the contact we already have for that account will be selected. Then click on save and close. So let's add, let's say we want to have the solution requested. So what kind of solution is the company requesting? So we've used this before, so it's populating here. We just need to type. So for this, let's make this business required. So it will be entered. So for this, we want it to be a multi-set option. So as I said earlier on, so for this XYZ company, they are offering Dynamics F&O, the Dynamics customer engagement, and they are also offering the cloud, the Azure-based cloud services. So a contact, which is a company, can choose to want to make more than one solution deployment. So we want to make this a multi-select option set. So we want to set this. So we don't have any existing option set, so we're going to add ours. So let's call this Dynamics Finance and Operation. Let's add another. Call this Dynamics 365 Customer Engagement. Then we'll add another. Let's call this Azure Cloud Services. So once entries are being made, any of these or all of these or two from these can be selected. That's why it's multi-select option set. So click on save and close. Then we'll add. Okay, let's say we want to add also the date this project is to start. So the proposed start date. Let's say we have project start date. We've used this before. That's actually why it's populating under the drop down. So have this date. Post project start date. So for this, we want to make it a date, and the type of the behavior will be date only. Don't leave it simple, and leave everything also as defaults. And click on save and close. Okay, let's add another the deployment state. So let's say we want to know the state of the deployment. So state of project deployment. So we have this. So we want this to be an option set. So it has to be just one from the option. So we're going to add, let's say we have, let's say in progress, click on enter, add another, call this, let's say pending. So when the project is pending, and let's say the project is completed, click on enter. So leave that and click on save and close. Then let's have also project end date. So the project was completed. So I think we've used this before. So we have project end date. So we have date project is completed. Then we could have this for dates and time also, and for the local use date only, and hit on save and close. So now we've had the fields we want to use in our form creation. So we then go straight to our form and design how we want the feel of our form to look like. So basically, the form type, you have the card, you have the main, you have the quick view. So for the main, you could have more than one main, which will now populate the drop down as I explained earlier on. So we will edit this main form, but you could also add new main form. So just edit and use this one that's populated here. So click on the information. So before we make the form design, let's quickly this itself. Okay. So basically, this gives you a feel of how the form will look like. So these are the tabs where you make changes. So let's change. So you could change properties for any of the tab that is selected. So let's, or you could come on that tab itself and double click on it so it's open and you could pick from there. So you have the name. So let's just call this deployment form. Let's call it deployment details. And call these details. This will be all be on the label details. So we want this to be visible. So the formatting gives you how you want, okay, how many columns you want, the how you want to break the form down. So for this, we'll just be using a single column. Then the event. So you could have um, events that you want and what the event handler would do. So for instance, let's say you want when a specific entry is made into one field, it should make another field based on the results based on the entry that was made, make another field visible. So most of those state change are being configured here. So what happens with those event form libraries you inputted will now be set here. So you have things like state change on saved, when the save button is clicked, what happens, where it goes to, all those configurations can be made here. We'll not be working on that today. So basically, you click on OK. So you then have this as details here. So we edited this. So so as I said earlier on, this is the required field form that we had earlier on, but we don't want to make use of this. So we just click this and hide the form and hide this field. So basically to hide this, we just click on the visible by default. I don't want to display any of it. It shouldn't be available on. So close this. So basically, what we want for this form is we want a company name. So you just drag and drop from the field icon. So you could just go here and say custom fields. So we could pick the custom fields we've created. So I want the company name. So you could drag this company name. We want the client, right? So the individual. So we want the solution requested. We want the deployment state, project start date, project end date. So put the owner of this form. So let's say also we want a field that tells us if um, training is requested for this deployment or not. So I wanted to do this here also, so to show you that you could add fields, could create fields also on the from the form area. So just click on new field. So let's call this training requested. So I want this to be an option set. Requested training for the deployment. So just make it simple, yes or no. If yes, I want this to be yes or no. So you just select if training was requested for the deployment or not. So you save and close. Then to use this, let's go to all fields. Let's go back to our forms and refresh. So let me quickly save this. So save as. So name this form. We'll call this deployment form. Deployment request form. So click on save. So now we now have the requested training. So we're going to add this here. So now we have the requested training. Then on the header, let's say we want to have the company name, the solution requested, and let's say the deployment state. So click on the header. Then click on the header. What we want to have is we want to have the company name. Let's have the company name here. Let's have let's have it here. Let's have the want to have also the solution requested. So we want deployment state. We also want the solution requested is required field. Okay. Let's say we want okay. So let's just have the client. So just a field of it. So client name. Sure. So this is our form. So let's have for the foot. Let's have project start date. Click on it. Drag the project start date. And let's have the project end date. So with this, we could save and close. So we have our requested form that we just created. So let's make the order. So form order for the main form. Once solution requested to be the default. So yeah, the deployment request form to be the default. So when you click on this, so we'll have this. So I could deactivate this so it won't be visible. So we have this just as the main form. So I would then Save and close this. Then now we'll go back to our entity we created, the custom form, the custom app that we created, and we want to add this new entity we just created. So we go to the app designer. So on our app designer, we go to sitemap. Then for our tech services, let's take away all this, delete this, delete this also. Then I'll add a new group. I'll call this deployments. Deployments. Let's call it solution deployment. Solution deployment. Now hit enter. Then for this, I'll add a new sub area so I could put in my entity. So now the type is an entity, and the entity type is deployment, the one we just created. So let's go look for deployment. So this is the entity we just created, deployment. I could just search for deployment, and it's up here. So that's for deployment. So you could click save. I could publish this. Okay, so we're done publishing this. Then we could save and close. Then on this end, we'll save also, publish it. So now when you go back to our app and you refresh, and you go to the tab area and click on tech services, now you have tech services. Refresh this. Now we have the entity we just created called deployment. So as you can see, it's brought out the custom view that came with the entity, but we're still going to change this view. So let's see how our form looks like. I'll click on new. So this is the form we just created. So let's look up for one of the companies, one of the accounts we have. So let's just select any account. Let's call this. Then for the contacts, just look up for any contacts. Adventure Works, let's just call this. So solution requested. So you have the drop down. So you could select all, but let's just select selecting customer wants Dynamics 365 customer engagement and Azure Cloud Service. Then for the solution state, let's say it's in progress. The start date, which is a date, we could use this. Then end date, let's say the solution is end 24. Then you click on save and close. So basically, your view then populates the information from your entity that was just entered under the form. So we'll go back now and customize our view and come back here and see how our view looks like. So let's go back to our entity. Go look for the entity we're working on, which is deployment. Deployment. So click on deployment. So we use this drop down also and access our view. So we want to go to view. So click on view. So now these are the views we have. So the view we just saw is a public view, the default public view, which is the active deployment. So we're going to edit this view So to edit the view, just double click on the view. You could also create your new view, make it the default public, so you make use of it. So what I want to do is remove all this. So remove, click on remove, click on this also, created on, and click on remove. So now we're going to add the fields that we want to populate their information. So we go to add columns. So now here we have all the fields that are listed in this entity called deployment. So what we want is we want the company name, we want the client rep, the person we're deploying, we want the deployment state. We also want project start dates and solution requested, and yeah, let's take training requested also. So you click on OK. Then you then have this. So to rearrange them in the order you want, so I select, let's say I want company name at first. You click on the field that you want to appear and then move it to the position you want. So I want company name first. I want client reps second. I want the deployment, the solution requested, then deployment state, project start date, then training requested. I'll click on, let's save as, let's call this deployment view. Click on, let's call this XYZ deployment, deployments request. Click on OK. Then you could save and close. Now let's refresh this. So this is the view we just created. So I could select this. So deactivate this. I want to make this default. So set as default. So as you can see now, our deployment view is now the default public view. So we could publish all customizations. So we're publishing. So we're done with publishing. So now go back to our form and let's refresh this and see how our view looks like now. This is not populating yet. Let's click on this solutions. This biotech solutions. This. So now go back to text. Yeah, so this is how our view now looks like. So as you then have all the information as you arrange them from the view populating here, and you could have the list of other views that are created. So basically, this is how you create your custom entity and you organize your view and create your form based on your needs. So let's say you want to add a new, so good, make a lookup field. Let's just call this, give it another field. So let's look up for another contacts. Let's put this. Then let's say the requested for this is just Azure service. So click on this, and let's say this is completed. Then take this, just pick up date. So training requested, let's say yes. Click on save and close. So when you save and close, the information you just populated comes under your view. So you could just have a quick view of all the deployments you have enlisted. So basically, this is how you create custom entities in the Dynamics environment, and how you create your forms and create your views and the fields that are used in creating the custom entity. So thank you once more for coming and moving with us on creating entities. So in our subsequent videos, we'll be working on um, creating more entities, and after that, then we'll review how entities relationship works, and also we'll be working on integrating these entities together so that you could pull up and add up records from one entity to another based on the relationships, and also creating business rules. Thank you very much, and do watch out for more videos from this channel. Thank you.